like to call this meeting to order. Will the clerk please read the statement?
This is a meeting of the Township Council for Monday, March 25th, 2019. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to the public and the press on January 3rd, 2019, and was posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and JSA 10:4-7.
Roll call.
Councilman Holmes?
Here.
Councilmember Carreri?
Here.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Here.
Councilman Allberger?
Here.
Council President Berger?
Please rise to salute the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on our agenda is a proclamation of Fair Housing Month. Whereas April 11th, 2019 marks the 51st anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act. Of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 as amended, which enunciates a national policy of fair housing with regard to race, color, religion, sex, familial status, handicap, and national origin, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all. And whereas the Sussex County Association of Realtors is committed to highlighting the Fair Housing Act by continuing to address discrimination in our community, to support programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities, and to plan partnership efforts with organizations to help assure everyone of their right to fair housing. And whereas the National Association of Realtors Code of Ethics commits all realtors to providing equal professional services without discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, familial status, handicap, sexual orientation, gender identity, and national origin. Now, therefore, the Mayor and Council of Township of Vernon do hereby proclaim that April 2019 being Fair Housing Month, which begins a year-long commemoration of the Fair Housing Act in the Township of Vernon, and urges all citizens to wholeheartedly recognize this celebration throughout the year. Given under my hand in these free United States in the Township of Vernon on this 25th day of March 2019, and to which I have caused the seal of the Township of Vernon to be affixed and have made this proclamation public. Harry J. Shortway, Mayor. Jean Murphy, Council President. Next, we move on to public comments. May I have a motion to open the public?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to address any agenda items? Please step forward.
This is about any agenda items, is that correct?
On agenda items, anything on the agenda, yes.
Okay. My name is Sean Mazur, and I am the new owner of 5 Sleepy Hollow. I'm here to address your vacant property ordinance. Well, first of all, I find it to be unconstitutional at best. And it's kind of ironic that you have a clause in here stating if it is unconstitutional, other items in the ordinance will still pertain. I recently purchased 5 Sleepy Hollow, which is probably the second oldest house in Vernon here, and I'm in the process of trying to restore it. I want to keep it. I don't want to knock it down. I think it's an important structure here in Vernon, and it was loaded full of garbage when I acquired the property. I've about $4,000 or $5,000 worth of dumping fees so far. I was just over there today painting the garage and assessing what I need to do here. Now, with your ordinance, it makes no concession for somebody who, like myself, who purchased the property, and I intend to keep the property as long as I'm alive. I went to Vernon High School, so I grew up here, so I'm coming back to the area. But there's really I talked to Chuck today. Actually, I talked to him twice now. And the only concession you make is having a little bit of a kickback. It's a wrong term to use, but a little bit of
Concession?
money back, yeah, if you get it done within a year's time. Now, this house was in a fire about 5 years ago. It was the Magora residence, if anyone doesn't know what that is. That's over there on 5 Sleepy Hollow. It dates back to 1700s. I'm in the process of I want to make the house look nice, And I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at my funds, and I'm saying, boy, I got to get $500 for this registration fee, and then next year, if I'm not done with the house and it's not deemed, occupied with the certificate of occupancy, then there's an additional $1,500, and so on. It goes up to a maximum of $5,000. Now, the taxes on this property are only $3,000 and change. So this fees that you guys have, and that is really quite a dollar number here. And other towns I know have adopted this same ordinance, and I've looked through the land use law book and see where this ordinance came from. And people are different towns are taking little bits and pieces of it here and there. Recently, I reside in Monmouth County. Recently, a similar ordinance was tried in Superior Court of Monmouth, and Neptune lost to a homeowner. So I urge this council to really consider what you have here and make some allocations for people like myself who purchased a property in the process of repairing it and putting it back, to its beautiful state. And you guys really don't. The only thing, you don't have anything for us. You basically say, oh, here's your registration fee. If you're not done in a year, it's going to double. If you're not done in 2 years, it's going to double again. And a couple years later, it's going to be a maximum of $5,000. If you don't pay it, it's $2,000 fine. It's quite ridiculous. It's kind of like insult to injury. Here I am, I'm putting a bunch of money out, I'm looking at other properties too, and I'm saying, okay, well, do I want to invest any more in Vernon? I mean, the whole purpose of this ordinance is to get people to fix up their properties, and, and I'm doing such, but I feel like there's no concession for somebody like myself who's doing this. Why don't you revise the ordinance to say, okay, if you have just acquired the property, give us some time, give us 6 months, give us a year. I know a lot of people can pull permits and never do anything with the permits, but if someone does pull permits and they're actively working on their project, you shouldn't punish them with this, And it's quite a bit of money. I mean, you start to look at what it is, and especially like I'm paying tax. I paid my tax bill today, a little late. I'm looking at this thing, going, boy, this really stinks. Here I am, and if anything, should be commending me, for trying to preserve, a piece of Vernon history here, and it doesn't feel like that. I'm very saddened by it. As you can imagine, just spending a bunch of money over the Christmas holiday and dumpsters, et cetera, and then coming in and saying, oh, great, look what I got.
Can you speak a little louder? I'm sorry, your
No.
voice is going lower and lower. Can you
sorry?
talk a little louder,
Oh, I'm
if
sorry.
you would, please?
I said it seems like insult to injury, over the holidays. I spent quite a bit of money first acquiring the property, and then, paying for dumpster fees and also paying for work to clean up the property. I've had about 4 or 5 dumpsters there now. So it's quite a bit of work, and then to see this registration fee come in, it's just it's ridiculous. And I'm surprised no one else is here challenging it. It is unconstitutional. It's very arbitrary.
Excuse me, but this is just an amendment to what we already have on the books.
I know
Okay.
you're amending
All right.
it, but I think your amendment should take it a step further, not just give a concession for, okay, if you're finished within a year's time, we'll give you back a couple bucks. Give a year's time from the get-go.
Well,
If people acquire properties and they're actively fixing the property, which is what the whole ordinance is created for, why should you do such things to not give them any chance? Obviously you're revising it because
Well,
you saw there was a problem in it.
rather than prolong it, and I understand your situation, but one of the main reasons this was brought upon was really because of residents that live in town that had to live next to the properties and nothing was happening to them. So the township had to do something.
Sure, I understand that.
So this
No,
is
I'm
not,
in
this is
agreement
not
with- I'm
meant
in
as a
agreement.
punishment to anyone, but if you take that up with the zoning officer as you go along,
Well, I've done that. I've done that with Allison, and I've actually had Ms. Decker, both of them were on the property
Yeah.
not too long ago. We talked about this,
Yeah.
and at the time we had a conversation. She said, oh, it wouldn't pertain to you. You're actively, fixing up the property and stuff. Now the story's changed. So I'm here before you. I took my time out to come before you all and say, hey, maybe you guys should just give some concessions to somebody like myself. This property, if I demolish the property, then there's nothing. I don't have to pay anything. But if I demolish the main residence, but that's sad. I don't want to knock down a house from the 1700s. I have a master's degree in architecture. I served on the Historic Preservation Committee in Ocean Grove, which is on the Historic Registry of important places. I have a background in construction. I know what it takes. I'm a licensed contractor. I know what it takes to put together a project, and it doesn't take a couple months. Sometimes it takes a year, especially a project like this. I want to preserve what's there. It takes time. You guys don't give anyone. There's no time here. You give a little bit of a concession. I'm not saying void it, because I understand there's a lot of foreclosures and a lot of vacant and abandoned, true vacant and abandoned properties in township, and they should be addressed. But some of the stuff on the checklist,
Well, yeah, we're familiar with,
kind of another thing. I mean, you
Familiar with
open up the items for neighbors to potentially harass each other. With this, I think there's two things here, 2 or more conditions, reporting. I mean, that's, you're opening up for, if one neighbor doesn't like another neighbor, someone doesn't like you, they can say, oh, guess what, he's not mowing his lawn, he's got mail in the mailbox.
it's ultimately up to the zoning officer, though, and
Well, that's capricious.
the zoning officer will
she-
address those issues.
Well, I've talked to her as well, and she even agrees it's very capricious, So I've talked to a couple attorneys as well, and we're all on the same agreement. This is a very arbitrary and capricious ordinance you have here. And it was challenged once, like I said, it was challenged in Monmouth County not too long ago, So, the next step, I don't want to do this, but my next step would be, a litigation against the township for violation of constitutional rights. This is definitely, it fits that mold. Your council here should really address that. It's funny because you guys have that in there, so it's kind of ironic that you say, you talk about the Constitution in this own ordinance, saying if it's unconstitutional, it's kind of hinting that it is unconstitutional, in my opinion.
Given the gentleman's comment that his next step is to sue the township, I would suggest that no one comment any further regarding the ordinance.
Well, I don't want to file litigation.
Look, you've just threatened
I have no
you
other-
just threatened a lawsuit. I'm
Well,
sorry.
I mean,
I'm not doing my job if I don't advise him.
I understand that. I'm not, I'm saying that, well, I have no other recourse. There's no appeal. I come before you and I say, hey, I have this historic structure. This is what I'm doing. I'm actively fixing it up. There's nothing. You have to pay the $500 and that's it. If you're not finished in a year, it's $1,500. If you don't pay the money, it's a fine. That doesn't seem very fair.
You've made that
Especially for
point.
somebody who's making a good effort to do something good. All the neighbors are commending me on how great, I was happy to see somebody like you bought this property. I've been taking down a lot of trees, doing a lot of cleanup, a lot of garbage on the property. It was 50 years of the McGores were antique collectors, so there's 50 years of garbage on the property. So I'm doing such. I'm not interested in coming against the township or anything, but I have no other recourse. If you guys could say, hey, guess what, we're gonna make some exceptions here, and you can appeal this, by such, showing that you have permits that were actively closed within the last 3 months, or showing that you're currently, working on the house and not stalling. Is there something there's some concessions? I mean, do you want to see this historic structure? It's not on the historic register or anything, but do you want to see this structure demolished? I mean, that would be sad. I think it would be sad.
Like I said, you can continue taking that up with the zoning officer. So, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to step up and have any comments? Seeing no one else, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Next, we have our minutes. Let's see here. May I have a motion to adopt the following minutes? The special joint executive session meeting minutes of February 19th, the regular meeting minutes of February 25th, 2019, and the special meeting minutes from March 4th, 2019.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Abstain.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Do you have to abstain
Council
from the
President
one?
Murphy.
Excuse me, do you have to abstain from the special, were you at the special meeting on the 19th? That
Yeah.
was the joint meeting in Newton?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay,
Okay, abstain from that one then.
okay. And me, yes.
Motion carries to adopt minutes with abstentions noted.
Next items for discussion is the Vernon Township budget. And one of the reasons I put this on the agenda was just to pretty much notify the public that we're not ready to introduce our budget yet. And we're probably looking at the next meeting. We still have another budget meeting scheduled on this Thursday on the 28th. So I think between the council and administration, our auditors are going back and taking a closer look at our budget. And I didn't know if the council members had any questions on anything, anything that's been discussed so far. in any of the budget process. You know, since they're going back and looking at it, so I just figured it would be an opportunity, you know, prior to Thursday's meeting.
That meeting's at 4 o'clock,
It's at 4,
to know.
Thursday at 4 o'clock, yep. So, I think the only other thing, somebody mentioned to me were the lights at the Veterans Park, that was.
I have that noted. to
Right,
remove.
so, and I think that was something else that somebody mentioned, and I said, I believe that was being addressed.
That was me.
That was you. And there was somebody else that mentioned, oh, Mark. So, any comments, anything? And then I think, when is it, April 8th, maybe we'll be prepared to introduce?
Yes. Hopefully,
So-
provided everything goes well.
And so then after, the only other thing is that normally we usually ask for from administration is a list of any changes that are made. If we could be provided a list prior to the budget, to the meeting, so we know what adjustments have been made in the budget. This way, we don't have to kind of try to go line by line and try to figure out what's been moved around or changed.
Yes, I did make a bunch of the changes that were recommended, and that would be ready for the packet that would go to you guys tomorrow for Thursday's meeting. So I can make a list of those changes, so you would have them, and then anything after that that we discuss, I would make another list. so you
Yeah,
have it.
just, it'll make it easier for
Is this the
everyone.
Plan B you were talking about? Not just the items that we addressed, but additional,
Yeah, and the auditor's been through everything, so.
okay.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. Resolution 1989, charitable solicitation permit for the Vernon Township Fire Department. This authorizes solicitors' permit for Vernon Fire Department for various dates. Resolution 1990, this refunds the fourth quarter taxes for a totally disabled veteran. Resolution 1991, this approves a TWA for Tall Timbers. Resolution 1992, this authorizes a duplicate certificate. Resolution 1993, this transfers funds between last year's accounts. Resolution 1994, this provides for budget funds for April and May. That is the emergency temporary appropriation. Resolution 1995, this authorizes competitive contract for payroll. Resolution 1996, authorizing engineering design and preparation of contract documents for proposed improvements to Warwick Turnpike. Resolution 1997, as this is the authorizing the engineering and design and preparation of contract documents for turf field replacements at Maple Grange Community Park. As the name suggests, this permits engineering. Are there any resolutions that need to be removed? I think John.
1989 for myself.
Which one?
The first one, 1989.
Oh,
There any others that need to? Prior to voting, I have a question on the emergency, on the temporary appropriation. Is there any money left in the budget from the first?
There is some, but a lot of the accounts are at their max, or would be at their max come the end of March after the second payroll is run. And a lot of the departments have only accounted for those first 3 months. So what I have done, there are certain departments that I didn't put any additional funds in, for tax and for myself for O&E, or I should say tax and finance for O&E. We didn't put any additional funds in there because we did that competitive contract for Edmonds, so we didn't have to expense out that large amount yet, so I didn't touch those. Some other ones I did increase a little bit more. We have a couple of insurance items that need to be paid, and they kind of pay everything in the first half of the year, so it's not a typical, 2/3 amount. It's a little bit higher. And then, of course, the pension payments are on this, which makes this significantly high. It's over $1.5 million, so, and those are due April 1st.
Okay, oh, thanks. So may I have a motion to adopt Resolution 1989?
Motion.
I'll make the second. Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Abstain.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt Resolution 1989.
May I have a motion to adopt Resolutions 1990 through 1997?
Motion.
I have a first and a second. Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt Resolutions 1990 through 1997.
We have introduction for first reading of proposed ordinances, Ordinance 1907. This ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 99 of the Code of the Township of Vernon entitled Vehicles and Traffic. This prohibits turns for the Cedar Ridge Drive and McAfee Glenwood Road, County Route 517 intersection. May I have a motion to introduce Ordinance 1907 with a public hearing, did you say on August?
April 22nd.
On April 22nd.
Motion.
May I have a second?
Sandy,
Oh, Sandy did.
Councilmember Ohms.
Is there any discussion on this?
Yeah, I just want to clarify, we have contacted the county.
Yep. Chuck sent it into the county.
I haven't gotten a response from them,
Okay.
but I will forward that as soon as.
Because I know from years ago, we couldn't even put a paint stop on our road going onto theirs, because when it goes onto theirs, it's their call.
Well, if it's in the right-of-way, yes. We're not allowed to, we have to get a permit. It's not that we're not allowed to. but
No,
we-
they told us not to stop
Right.
painting where we
painting
had
is
stop
different,
signs,
yes.
like say at the top of Lonsberry onto 565.
Right.
They didn't even want us to paint the stop on the road because it was going onto theirs and they would take care of it. That's why I just want to make sure that we're,
Well, right now, we're
But,
just looking to do signage that would be posted on
Cedar Ridge.
township property or our right-of-way,
Okay.
not to be out on 517. But I've advised them of that and looking for their feedback, if any.
okay.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to introduce ordinance 1907 with a public hearing on April 22nd.
Next, we have Ordinance 1908, ordinance amending the salary ordinance for non-union employees. This adjusts some ranges and removes salaries for vacant positions. May I have a motion to introduce Ordinance 1906 with a public hearing to be held April 8th?
1908.
What did I say, 1907?
6.
Oh. That's it.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I just feel that this looks like just a few lines of non-union employees being adjusted, and I just feel that this should wait until a time that we could perhaps put a task force together and look at all of the salaries in this category, and bands, I should say, not salaries, the salary bands. At one time. I know that's been done in the past. I'm just concerned about a couple of things, mainly the legality of pulling those positions out, and also
Pulling which position out?
any position to
Oh.
adjust the band at this point in time.
Okay, well, I did discuss this with our
Yes.
attorney, so, and adjusting the bands, and I'll provide you with information, but last year, what administration presented to us was a plan, a 5-year plan. So a lot of these ranges were to go out 5 years based on some of the employees that were here. So I'll provide you with all that information. But like I said, this is just making some adjustments. Anybody? Any other discussion?
No.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
No.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to introduce ordinance 1908 with a public hearing on April 8th.
Next, we have public hearing. It's a second reading of ordinance 1905, ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 89 of the Code of the Township of Vernon regarding bereavement leave for non-union employees. As the title suggests, this establishes bereavement time for non-union employees. May I have a motion to open to the public hearing for 1905?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward and address this ordinance? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1905?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 1905.
Next, we have ordinance 1906, ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 130 of the Code of the Township of Vernon regarding vacant and abandoned property fees. This amends the registration process if someone later occupies a vacant home. May I have a motion to open to the public hearing on ordinance 1906?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step up? Have any comments on it? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1906?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Holmes?
Yes.
Councilmember Carreri?
Yes.
Councilmember Van Tassel?
Yes.
Councilmember Allberger?
Yes.
Council President Murphy?
Yes.
Motion carries to adopt ordinance 1906.
Next, we have our public comment. May I have a motion to open to the public?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there anyone from the public that would like to step forward and have any comments on anything? Seeing no one, may I have a motion to close?
Motion.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mayor's report?
Yes, it is long. First, I want to say,
Did you say long?
yes, it's going to be long. I agree with Mr. Curry on 1908. Most of these positions are staffed, have been, or are currently by females who are a protected group, and I will not limit the potential, earning potential of any group based on if it's their gender, sexual orientation, race, creed, etc. This has no economic impact on the budget whatsoever. This is a long-term plan, and you're reducing the capabilities of future earnings. That being said, I will veto that if that does pass. On brighter notes, we received the 2018 Mayor's Wellness Campaign Healthy Town in the Making recognition. I wish to congratulate Michelle Downton, Amy Buffalino, our recreation and our GAC committees, and all our volunteers who strive to make our community a better place to live, work, and play. Congratulations to Jane Damstra for being recognized for her outstanding achievement as site manager at the Vernon Congregate Nutrition Site. All our turf fields are fully open. We will try to minimize traffic in the goal zones of the upper fields where they were found to be unsafe. We decompacted the fill and obtained safe levels. This is only a temporary fix. The upper fields will be tested again in early May and the infield decompacted again if necessary. But as of July 1st, the fields will have to be closed if they are not going to be replaced. The lower field is in good shape, and we anticipate with proper care, we should have another 2 years on it. Our DPW does a phenomenal job maintaining the fields, and Ms. Downton will be monitoring its condition regularly to schedule any servicing beyond normal grooming if needed. Ms. Downton is commended for formulating a solution to allow our many programs to utilize this great township resource. 6 Vernon police officers attended the Advanced Truck Enforcement course last week. We are now conducting due diligence at the following locations for possible respective motor vehicle restrictions: Maple Range Road in the area of the park to Canal Road, lowering the speed limit to 25 miles an hour to accommodate bicyclists and pedestrians. Owen Station Road banning through commercial truck traffic, a weight to be determined, but possibly starting at 10 tons. Addressing truck traffic and speed limitations on Route 15 south of the town center. Continued communication with the county regarding Route 517 and Lake Pochuck Road intersection. Congressman Gottheimer and State Senator Steve Orho have launched the Sussex County Tourism Task Force. I've been appointed to the task force in an effort to increase tourism and capture more state dollars. We currently only realize $140,000 of the state's $9 million tourism promotion budget. I continue to strive to fulfill my campaign pledge to create a culture of well-being that incorporates a passive recreation for all Vernon residents. At the center of the agenda, as you well know, has been the construction of a hiking and biking trail system to complement the town center as the hub for businesses. A trail system should include a pedestrian and bicyclist route parallel to the Main Street District as the center point of passive recreation and art. This will allow mixed-use, passive, and active recreation uses within easy walking distance to connect our commercial, municipal complex, and resort areas. Art plays an intentional and integrated role in place-based community planning and development. This brings artists and artistic activity into human-centric and holistic community development. This allows having the different art disciplines and diverse cultures represented alongside commercial, housing, and transportation, such as a passive trail system. With each sector as creating a vibrant community, it will also provide economic sustainability. Planning and investment are required from us to fulfill our responsibility to contribute to Vernon's overall future. Such an agenda must be inclusive of the needs of all residents, including our older population and those faced with physical, intellectual, and mental challenges. We have taken the initial steps to improve our town center and municipal complex. This has been a team effort for the last 3 years. Suez water to Church Street and immediate area, sewer service to municipal center, paving in municipal center, parking lot, and recycling center, the successful resurrection of beautification, recreation, and art committees, creation of a 306-acre redevelopment zone in the town center along routes 94 and 515 that could serve as a catalyst to future commercial development, an ordinance authorizing referendum to allow additional expenditures from the Open Space Trust Fund for public pathway development and maintenance. Voters approved this measure in November, as you know. An ordinance for property maintenance, an ordinance to address and regulate abandoned properties and unfit buildings, improvements to the senior center, including the new doors and kitchen cabinets, acquisition to purchase new equipment, including a reach-in freezer for the senior center kitchen, and all equipment attachments and accessories as necessary, improvement of municipal-owned properties and facilities in and by the municipal building by the upgrade of the fire sprinkler system and the water hookup facilities. We display now art by our local artists right out in our own hallways. We created the Greenway Action Advisory Committee. The GAC had achieved Sustainable New Jersey Bronze certification and a $2,000 grant, and they blazed the TC trail. Volunteers also went back and blazed this trail. We cleaned up the municipal storage yard, which will be the future, as Mark and Patrick, we walked it there for the loop last week. Approval of the use of funds from the Open Space Trust Fund for the engineering, design, and the construction of the town center bike and walking trail. In the last 2 years, we have received the following recognition: the 2018 Mayor's Wellness Campaign Healthy Town in the Making, 2018 Appalachian Trail Community, 2018 ANJAC Award for the Vernon Greenway Project, 2017 Bronze Certification, Sustainable New Jersey, 2017 #1 Nature Destination by Expedia.com. I now respectfully request that Council support the following as my mayoral term winds down. Approval of $176,000 from the Open Space Fund for the Town Center Trail to be placed on the April 8th agenda. An introduction of the short-term rental ordinance for the introduction on April 8th also. I propose a short-term rental occupancy tax or permit fee be set aside for funds placed in a tourism trust account to support the trail and amenities, art, historical interests, recreation, and I am now proposing the Dan Kadish Memorial Amphitheater. The Dan Kadish Memorial Amphitheater will be financed through a number of different means, including but not limited to open space funds, as approved by referendum and supported by the council if they choose to do so, donations, and appropriate township funds as available. I am requesting that the council create a subcommittee made up of 2 council members and volunteers as they deem fit to identify sources of finance, necessary purchases, volunteer contractors, plans, and construction. I propose the site be in the municipal complex to afford easy access from the senior center, the PAL, and the town center trail. I am sensitive that there exists a vision that the amphitheater be named in honor of our Vietnam veterans. I have the utmost respect for Vietnam veterans. I was too young to serve during the Vietnam era. However, several of my relatives and friends' brothers did. My uncle was shot during a firefight, but he survived. A friend's brother came home in a flag-draped coffin. My son's father, grandfather, father-in-law, several uncles and cousins are all veterans. Cousins, a niece, and a nephew, they still are currently U.S. and United States Marines. The sacrifice of the Vietnam veteran is not forgotten, along with the sacrifice of all our veterans. Along the trail, I respectfully request consideration for a place for serenity, consisting of benches, each in honor of a specific conflict or war that our military engaged our enemies. This place will be dedicated for reflection. It will be off of Black Creek Drive. The location overlooks the valley. It's a spectacular view for all to reflect and find peace. Thank you.
Next council member comments, Councilmember Oliver.
I have a question for the mayor. You were saying back on Owen Station Road, you were looking for restricting trucking?
It's the trucks that come through. They are flying down that road. It's right through the Federal Reserve. You can see the roads on the end. It's alligator. You know, it's all wet down there anyway.
County road, I just wondered if, are we going to go through them on that?
Well, we would notify them, but I don't think the whole thing is county.
Owen Station from like Wallkill out to 284 is county road.
Then I will pursue it with the county because it is dangerous. You have some great parks there, walking trails. We're trying to open that up, but you're absolutely.
It's bad. Ed and I both worked on that road for a long time. It's bad. It's just Owen Station is the county's. So, yeah.
And I thank you for bringing that up, because I asked the police and they thought there were some parts that were ours. I had received complaints over a year ago, but I'm out there walking, and what I've been told, it's confirmed.
Oh,
and you're supporting it too also.
Your life is in your hands on that
road.
The tandems and the triaxles that are cutting through from Middletown out to 284 Quarry.
I really think we should pursue a truck route. If it's through traffic, they use Route 94. They use the state highway, not our county roads and not our local roads. We shouldn't have to pay for it. If we have a state highway, that should be the traffic route, that they come from 23 to Warwick and up to Middletown. So, thank you, John. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
No problem.
Yeah, I'd just like to say me and Pat and Harry walked the trail behind, by the PAL. And I mean, some of the views from that trail is amazing. I think it's a great idea, and I think we should just keep plugging away at it. I think it's going to be great for the town.
Thank you.
Councilmember Carreri.
Yeah, to piggyback on what Councilman Van Tassel had said, when you get to the top, it runs along adjacent to the solar panels, but you can't even see the panels. The view is really so spectacular. So before things grow too much, or as quickly as we can see the trail completed, you need to get up there and just take a look for yourself. Pictures don't do it justice. It's a beautiful spot.
I mean, and that's where I'm trying to picture if we had benches there, when I said serenity and I say peace, just to sit there and reflect over that valley. I mean, I go up there and I just stand there and you just watch. It's great. See, I was pointing out your house, John.
Yeah.
Across the valley.
It's a great view of the Walker
Yeah,
Farm, the Vernon View Farm.
I get that here. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Owens?
Yes, all this talk about recreation, band shell, all this is great, but what are we going to do for revenue that will bring our taxes down? What's going to prevent us from next year having a big hike like we're having now? Hopefully, not so high. But what's going to prevent next year? We need revenue. I mean, all this is great. But what are we doing for revenue? What is the Economic Development Committee doing? What are your thoughts? What are we going to do to change our financial status?
Well, one of the things we did was the abandoned building, which is over $111,000 this year alone. And then, as I said, the short-term rentals.
Okay.
There's an estimate of 140 in this town that are not regulated, so we don't know what kind of safety measures are there. And then that would bring in additional revenue.
But we need millions, especially when we don't know what's in store for us next year.
We have to make the town
That's gonna,
more
we're taxing our own people to make revenue for ourselves.
tourism. That's one of the reasons we just
I don't know
had
about that.
the meeting. The state has this pot of money.
That would be great, but what in addition to? We can't count on just tourism for our revenue.
I'm open to ideas. I'm open to ideas. I'm putting ideas
What
out.
you guys are thinking of.
Well, like I said, I've been marketing. Expedia.com rules us #1 in the whole state for recreation and tourism for nature lovers.
But we
You
can't
have
keep any
Legoland.
business here.
Excuse me?
We can't keep any business here. We're gonna start losing residents. if
Well,
our
what
taxes
businesses
keep
are
going
leaving?
up.
What businesses are leaving?
The Lakeland, the bank over here.
They sold out. They're not leaving, they sold out.
And there's a lot of empty retail space in town.
But I actually see more businesses coming in the last 3 years. I think the number's 17 small mom and pop shops. The Daily Bean is one of the most phenomenal
All right,
shops.
they're doing well, thank goodness for them, but not everybody's doing that well.
We know the problem is
There's a lot
Legends.
of retail space
Legends.
available.
Legends is a huge problem. We
That's
need
the
to market the
problem.
town, and that's what I've been trying to do with the trail system. It's a marketing, bringing people in. If you go throughout the whole country, and you go to these places that have invested in trails, you will see growth. You will see real estate values go up as much as 25%, go up to Goshen. Look at the mom and pop stores that are popping open there around the Heritage Trail.
I want to see what's popping up here.
Well, we don't have
The
it.
other towns.
We don't have a trail yet.
That trail is, to me, is not gonna be the end all be all. We have to work on revenue, we gotta get our
And
taxes down.
we are, and I agree.
Down the Board of Ed, you know what's happening there. We had a very nice meeting, and Danielle, thank you for attending, because I know that was a long day for you also. Dawn and I went, and I thought it was a great meeting. We're gonna have quarterly meetings. But we've gotta do something to at least stabilize our taxes. We can't promise anybody will reduce them, but small increases. So that's what we
Well, thank you.
Sorry, sorry, took
No
more
problem.
time. I'm done. I'm done.
Well, just to your point, the building up the street did close, and the new buyer's putting a restaurant in there. So, that, and there may be something going on with the Vernon Inn. I know the sign is down, so there are things happening with,
It's a revolving door.
Right,
That's
but it
what I
has to-
noticed over the years, a revolving door.
it has to start someplace.
No, I know,
And-
it starts, but then it just leaves. I'm just saying, I'm not arguing,
But-
I'm just
no,
saying.
no, I'm just saying
It's a
it's-
concern,
yeah.
and this is an observation.
So that, as far as the short-term rentals, I know actually on October 24th, Dan Kadish sent in some suggestions, but that, I spoke to Josh about that today. I mean, that ordinance is massive.
It's a big
It's, I mean, something has to be done. I find it quite confusing because it's so large that, you know, just going through that. And then you had also mentioned that you were thinking Highland Lakes maybe wanted to allow something going on. Not sure.
That would be up to them. We're just regulating if they do allow it.
Right, but, you know, I guess we need to know some of those criteria because, you know, just like when we passed the ordinance for the town center with the snow plowing, you know, the next thing is we don't really need to have residents coming from Highland Lakes, whether we allow it or we don't. You know, if Highland Lakes is doing their own thing there and they're not allowing it, their residents have to understand that that's not coming from us. So I'm just saying is more communication needs to be done like with the community like that, if they're thinking, you know, that they want to actually possibly allow this. Because, you know, we may want to know, just so it's worded properly. But I don't know what anyone else, I'm not sure if Patrick had an opportunity to actually review it, but like I said, it's quite massive, and I just don't know if maybe our council would like to.
It's a large ordinance. I don't think it's an insurmountable task. If the goal is to require registration, allow for policing to ensure that the facilities are safe, and also accommodate the administrative burden of having these facilities in town, it's not an impossible task.
Well, because the other thing, what we also need to weigh out is how much work is involved in this. Now, we have the vacant property ordinance. I mean, that's not going to last forever. That should work its way, just like, recycling was, at one point, there was a lot of money coming in recycling, and now it's really dropped off. Hopefully with the vacant property ordinance, as these homes, like I said, start flipping, that'll go by the wayside, so we will lose that revenue. But with the, whether it's the Airbnb and the short-term rental, it's like, what kind of volume are we looking at? If Highland Lakes decides to do that, like, how is that whole thing going to work between the township and Highland Lakes? So it's just a matter of how many, because are we looking at more employees? So if we're bringing revenue, are we hiring somebody now that is taking care of that task? So are we creating a job and using that revenue? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be triple that, But it's just a matter of having a handle on what's happening, instead of jumping in with 2 feet and then trying to figure out, work our way backwards from it.
It doesn't matter if Highland Lakes doesn't allow them, doesn't matter if we have the ordinance or not. If they allow them, then we are going to inspect them as they're identified.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying at the same time is if they're not allowing them, I think it's something we need to know to be able to explain to the residents ahead of time, because residents may come in, just like the chicken ordinance. I hate to bring up the chicken ordinance, but they're not allowed in the lake communities. So the residents are not happy.
They have to realize that whatever lake association they're in, their bylaws supersede things
Right.
that we.
So it's just us being proactive, so they're made aware of what's going on, and they could address that with their lake communities, because it's not going to be beneficial if we're stopping somebody from doing this, but it's really not our doing if it's their lake community, because that's when they'll come front and center. If Highland Lakes doesn't allow it, and now we find out on Airbnb somebody's up there, and, our fire marshal pays them a visit, that's when Highland Lakes will find out, well, gee, they're not supposed to be doing it, so they're going to have to stop them. And
We'll look for voluntary compliance, but we'll stop it.
right, but that's what I'm saying is, so if Highland Lakes knew what they were doing, it would actually help out all of their homeowners there, because
I disagree. I think we take the bull by the horns and we lead, and they fall in place.
I'm not saying we're not to do it, but we need to be proactive in getting the information out there so everybody is aware of what's going on, because, and it's true, even if you do post it every place, people will not see it, but at least be vigilant and not just have a room full of residents saying, how come I can't do this? I mean, like I said, we had it over the chickens, and this will be a more serious issue because it will be affecting, money.
And in the end, the chicken ordinance, that was great democracy, because people came and they expressed their viewpoints, and the council worked together, and you guys hammered out an ordinance. It's the way the process should have
That issue
worked.
coming up in towns that don't have it, so.
But we were proactive.
Yeah.
The council was proactive on that.
So the other thing that I wanted to address is the salary ordinance. Now, we adopted that ordinance last year. That was a 5-year plan. And the ranges were put in place for a 5-year plan. This amendment to this ordinance, pretty much, I mean, like our court administrator retired after many, many years. The position was replaced. But in my opinion, it would not be, we're not being conscious, we need to be conscious of adjusting some of these salaries. These are the bands, as you put, these are the ranges that they can go up to. But like for that one, for instance, an employee was put in that position. There's no reason to leave that range way high up at this point, because we need to really kind of get a grip on what's going on here. We owe it to the taxpayers to keep everything in line. This was all addressed last year. We had a lot of discussion on this, and we did make some adjustments last year. And like I said, it's not like, it's three of the ranges. I mean, Vernon is an equal opportunity employer. I don't even know why you would bring up anything else about people in their position. To me, that's never come up before, so I don't know why it would come up now. And as far as you vetoing it, you know, just so the council knows, 4 votes. Council, override a veto? Council?
Sure, you haven't had a
But I'm
public
just-
discussion yet, you still have a process to go through.
I'm just saying that if you're mentioning it to the council that you would veto the ordinance, 4 votes overrides a veto. But these are the ranges. There's nothing wrong with this. I mean, we provided these ranges. These are 5-year, it was a 5-year plan. That's how it came across. So if we have people that are coming into some of these positions at lower amounts, there's no reason to leave some of these ranges, you know, way out of whack. And that's, you know, that's what we were doing last year. I mean, so it's not to offend anyone, but it's really to be a little more conscious for the taxpayer. I mean, we have our budget. God help us, you know, with that.
There's no economic impact by changing that salary ordinance.
Okay.
There's none.
Okay. Then explain that to the taxpayer. But you know what? It's
Yeah, I
still
just did. There's none.
Somebody's paying it. It's still money going out to do it. The taxpayer's paying
Nobody,
it.
they're not starting at $115,000.
Right, so what's the argument of changing it? You're right,
You would
they're
have
not.
to change in the future. There are people in those positions that you're dropping it down. But we can have this at the discussion when you go to pass.
Dropping anybody's salary, it's just a raise.
You're dropping the range.
And at any time, the council can adjust ranges. So, I mean, I don't know why this is even, you know, a problem. I looked at it and I thought things should be adjusted. That's it. You know, just like anything else. It's housekeeping.
Hey, I disagree with you, and we'll
That's
have
okay.
to agree to disagree.
That's okay. But, you know, we did this in the first place. Oh, I'll let it go. Is there any other discussion?
So I am correct, right? Now when the salary's changing, it's just a raise.
It's a range. That's all.
So when you say it doesn't affect the budget, everything we pay out affects the budget. I mean, it all adds up. Or explain, maybe I don't understand how this employee salaries don't affect the budget. Tell me, maybe I'm wrong.
They're less than last year, how's that overall?
But it affects the budget. I mean,
But they're
we're
less
paying
than last
for it.
year.
We're paying for it.
Exactly,
So-
and they're less than last year, and in so doing that, we're adjusting the ranges that were, because what happens is, as an employee is here sometimes 20 years plus, their salary's going up, so we have to keep pushing that range up. So all we're doing is bringing that range back. That's all.
Well, we'll discuss it another time.
And at any time,
I'm
ranges
just
can be
asking,
adjusted.
answering the correct
Right.
question.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is I understand what the mayor's saying, is so we're not paying out. Okay, that's fine. But what's the problem? There is no problem. So, any,
What is the problem?
So, being the note,
oh, no.
if we're not changing a salary, are we saving the taxpayer money?
If we're not changing the salary?
Right,
Who's paying for the salaries? Am I wrong that the taxpayer pays for the salaries?
You all pay.
So, right, so yes, it does affect the taxpayer.
But if we're not changing the salary,
Right, we're not.
Any of us
what's
will-
the taxpayer? I'm just confused on that argument.
Well, what's the
This is
difference?
the range.
What's the difference if we rein in the ranges?
No one's taking
What's
a
the
cut.
difference if we have to vote on the salary increases anyway. So what's the difference if we rein them in? That's all.
My question is on timing and how
That's-
comprehensive it is.
Timing? Okay, well, then we can have I don't even know what you mean by
I
timing.
don't want to change.
Well, I mean, every time an employee leaves, should we vote again to change the salary ordinance?
No, we did this last year, and we're doing it this year. It was,
Well, I guess we're
Further
this was-
discussion.
yeah. So, anyway, motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.